All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Working with and Through Your Fear and Anxiety. This is a workshop hosted by Stress Busters, which is my online community where our intention is to make stress management fun and accessible for anyone and everyone around the world. With that in mind, we do workshops every month. We do 4 workshops every month where we put a theme of the month. The theme of the month for March is taking action, solely because March, the name derives itself from the Roman god Mars, who was all about taking action, going into war, doing all that fun, crazy stuff. So, with that, we wanted to have this wonderful space where we focus on taking action and a lot of things that pull us back from taking that action. We have so far done 2 workshops. One where we spoke about what did we speak about? We spoke about adding meaning to action. It was all about aligned action. We have done one workshop about planning for action. How do you take that step forward and plan for the action that you want to do? Today's workshop is things that often hold you back from going out there and doing the work that you want to do. With that in mind, let's get into this workshop. All right, let's go. I wanted to ask you all, for whoever's watching us live or on the replay, thank you so much, first of all, for joining us. I want to ask you, what is something that often holds you back? What is something that prevents you from taking action? Every time you are super excited about something, you're like, yo, this is it, this is what I was meant to do, this is super exciting. You have all these thoughts and you have all these emotions and you're extremely excited. What is something that often holds you back? Who would like to go and share their thoughts around this? Anyone? All right, Karina, go for it.
What holds me back? Is that the question? Oh,
Yes.
a lot of things. It's usually just something internal, like myself and thoughts, opposing feelings, distractions, and me limiting myself usually.
Oh, that's so true. I feel like limiting beliefs are things that often hold us back. Anyone else wants to add on to this? We will be getting into it, Karina. We will be talking about limiting beliefs as well in today's workshop. Brenda, Trinice, you want to add anything? Brenda, go for it.
Absolutely. For me, it's all about, and it's in alignment to what Karina said, it's all about the internal stories we tell ourselves. It could be stories that we tell ourselves because that's the way we were raised, or it could be the stories that we tell ourselves because of the experiences we've had in life, right? Or it could be stories that we tell ourselves because indirectly that's the perception we have about what success looks like, or based on our current individual situation, right? So it's more, for me, it's more about, am I telling myself the right story, or is the story I'm telling myself limiting me from getting to where I want?
Love that so much. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I feel like limiting beliefs are often things that often hold us back. And kind of touching on that, we all have stories. We all have things that genuinely hold us back, that adds that fear, that adds that anxiety. Something that I like to call is the ego trap. This is something that I realized for myself, is that when I go into trying something new, something exciting, something courageous, something that is pushing me a tad bit out of my comfort zone, my ego, which is my defense mechanism, kudos to that, that is what protects me, that is what keeps me safe, I'm all here for it. My ego trap is like, you're stepping into the unknown. You don't know what's happening around you. You don't know if you're ready for this. And what my ego will do is, it will try to be diplomatic. It will be like, are you sure you want to do this? I hear where you're coming from, but are you sure you want to do this? Like, this is why you shouldn't be doing this. And then if I say, you know what, I hear you, but I still want to move forward, the ego is a bit bruised. It's like, excuse me, did you just say no to me? And then it amps up. And the next level that it goes to is basically bringing in a few fears, bringing in a few stories of the past, small stories, not something that's really huge, small stories that's like, that can freak you out, that has freaked us out in the past. People say no here and they can move back. People like me who are crazy and chaotic and who were genuinely, you guys saw it, I was struggling with the technology and I was like, I must still push through. My mental chatter was like, but we can take the safe route out. We can just avoid doing this now and forget all about it and do it another time. But I was like, no, I'm gonna push through. That's when my ego amped it up to full, where it brings out the deepest and darkest fears. It brings out, oh my god, people are gonna judge me. Oh my god, people are gonna hate on me. People are gonna think I'm not professional enough. People are gonna think that I'm stupid. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to take care of myself. I don't know how to take care of my business. I had all of these stories playing on full volume, on blast in the back of my mind. And that is what ego does. Because let's be honest, its job is to keep us safe, and it is doing its best, right? It's trying to ensure that we are staying in the known, we are staying in things that we are already used to, and we are not doing anything that could potentially harm us. But if we still push through, here we are going live on LinkedIn, right? You push through, you progress. You don't, you go back to step one, square one, right? And this is the story. This is the story of this workshop. This is the story of this webinar. If you push through, you're going to succeed. If you don't, if you choose, and no harm in that. Sometimes the time is just not right. But you have to ask yourself this really important question. That is the base, like, that is what this entire webinar boils down to, is me taking the step forward or not serving me, right? If I take the step forward and if I still push through, will that serve me? Will the end result serve me? If it doesn't, I need to go back. I need to leave right now. I'm not ready for this. I'm not prepared for this. And I will go back, right? As long as that serves me as well. As long as I can look at both of these options from a place of love, right? If I look at, I am going to push through, I am going to succeed, it is going to be difficult, but I'm here for it. This is my time. If I don't do it now, I am not going to do it ever again. That is my story. I know myself way too well. I know the kind of stories that come up for me, that I create for myself. And in that moment, if I'm like, I'm still gonna push through and I want to reach the end goal, I want to see what is on the other side of this long journey, of this long road, I'm going to reach there and I'm going to be happy about it, because that is a decision I took, because that is the end result that is serving me. However, if I'm not ready and like, I don't want to do this right now, I'm feeling very scared, I'm feeling very queasy, I don't think if I'm in a place to do it, and if I go back to square one, I'm going to go back to that place from a place of love, right? I'm not going to go back to square one and be like, couldn't even do that, you're so stupid. I'm not going to have negative self-talk come up all over me and within me. I don't want that emotion to be resonating with me, right? So the biggest thing to deal with your fear and anxiety that often shows up, it's not a bad thing. This is something that's pretty normal, happens to everyone anytime we try to do something new, is simply ask yourself if this is going to serve me or not, if this is something that is going to help me or not. And whatever decision you take, you stand on that decision and you stand there with confidence, right? Let's actually, with that in mind, I have given you the gist of the workshop, but let's actually break down some of the fears that are often known to show up for people. The reason behind this is whenever these fears show up, oftentimes we get hooked onto it. We are like, this is it. This is exactly why I shouldn't be doing this. We get hooked onto the stories and we quit. However, when you ask yourself that question, is this going to serve me? Are you asking it from a place of awareness or are you asking it from a place of fear? Recognizing that is really important. Here's when it all comes down. We have 5 things that we need to do when we ask that question, which is notice that we are afraid, acknowledge that we are afraid, accept in our mind, body, and soul that we are afraid, right? Lean in to those fears. Actually sit with those fears instead of ignoring it, however long that takes you, and then you move through it, right? Notice, acknowledge, accept, lean in, move through it. This is really crucial. And you can only do that when you have an awareness of what usually happens. You can only notice something when you know that this is something that often tends to crop up for me. So let's talk about some of the fears that often show up for people. The fear of the unknown. So common. A lot of us are so scared of what is going to happen next that we prefer being in the comfort zone. No harm in it, right? It's good to be in the known because that is a safety that we have created for ourselves. Every time you progress, every time you change, sit in that space that you have created for yourself. Allow that space to soak in for yourself. That is going to be your new comfort zone. You worked hard for it. However, when there is a time to change it, that fear of the unknown will show up again. One of the stories that will crop up is, well, you worked so hard to reach here. Why do you want to progress? Why do you want to evolve? Let's stay here. Let's be here, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen next. There is that, in that element of uncertainty involved. You're like, I don't know what to expect. I don't know if I can handle it. I don't know what potential challenges might arrive. And these can lead to fear and anxiety. And let's break down fear and anxiety. Fear is basically this feeling, this primal feeling, which is natural. Once again, fear is natural. It's not something to be hated upon. This is something that has kept us safe for a really long time. Anxiety is when we are worried about what's going to happen and we are stressed out. We have psychological changes happening to that worry. We are worried that, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to handle it. And you feel like you can't breathe. You feel sweaty. You feel jittery. You feel like I want to punch someone. I want to run away from this entire situation. That fear and anxiety is common to show up, right? But when you are aware that this is something that often happens with me, every time I'm trying to do something new, the fear of the unknown will come to bite me. I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be like, okay, yeah, let's lean in. I don't have to waste time noticing it, acknowledging it, accepting it. I can do that at a very fast-paced process, instead of being like, let me see what's happening around me, let me acknowledge it. Do I want to accept it? Do I not want to instead of wasting time doing that, I know that the fear of the unknown is going to come at me and it's going to freak the hell out of me and I'm going to be scared and I want to run away. In those moments, if I'm aware that the fear of the unknown is going to show up, I'm better prepared for it. That's all this is about. Every time you take action, if you're prepared ahead of time, you can take better action. You can have better results. You can make better mistakes, right? You're not making the same mistakes of the past. You're making better mistakes at this point of time, which is always fun. Imagine having a battleground. You are fighting a war with someone from the opposite kingdom and they are here to take over your kingdom. If you are aware of your battle strategies, if you are aware of what the enemy looks like, you can make better battle strategies. So that is what it all comes down to. So the fear of the unknown. The best way to move out of the fear of the unknown is to understand what are the known elements out of the fear of the unknown, right? Like if I am afraid of, let's say I was afraid of going live on StreamYard and putting it out there on LinkedIn. It's like, how am I going to do this? What do I know? What do I do? And there is all that fear. Am I going to be able to handle potential threats? Am I going to be handle all of these things? What were some of the known things that helped me through it? I was like, I am sitting amidst some of the closest people from my community. I have Brenda, I have Trinice, I have Karina supporting me through this. They're here to cheer me up. Brenda literally moved us through and took us through a wonderful breathwork session and grounding session. I mean, that is it. That was a known element. Like I was like, I can lean on these people. I know that they're going to support me through this, right? That is a known factor. I know LinkedIn. I know people are going to judge me over there and I'm fine with it because I'm like, I don't care. I'm trying my level best to be here, and that is what matters the most for me. What is something else that was known? I knew about the topic. I knew about what I'm trying to share here. I know the importance of it. When I have 3 to 4 solid things that I'm aware of and that I know, I can move through the fear of the unknown. Because I know that these people are here to support me. This topic is here to support me. I am someone who helps people through this. I am here to support myself, which is so huge. So whenever the fear of the unknown strikes, one of the biggest things that you can do is try to learn more about your enemy. Try to understand what are some of the known factors here, because that is what is going to help you move through the fear of the unknown. Next, fear of failure. Ooh, this is so true for so many people, especially me. I can't even, like, this is something. I was like, I can't even, and in my mind I was like, so millennial of you. I'm like, stop. But basically the fear of failure is something that is very true for me, right? Because personal story time, I was preparing for pre-med here in India, and India is an extremely competitive place to kind of get into medical colleges and engineering colleges, and I worked my ass off. I took a drop year, I tried again, and both the times I missed my seat by a couple of marks. And that created the fear of failure for me. Because in my mind, it was always, I am not working hard enough. I am not worthy of this. I should be doing more. I should be pushing myself to the brink of extinction and back. And that honestly led me to a place of burnout because I was extremely burnt out. I had panic attacks. I still get afraid when I think about exams because I'm like, I'm going to fail and I'm going to disappoint everyone around me. I'm going to disappoint myself. I'm going to disappoint my family. In my mind is Mulan, that line playing that dishonor on you, dishonor on your family, dishonor on your cow, and all of those things are playing in my mind because that is something that's very real for me. Fear of failure is something there's a risk every time you try to move forward, every time you try to move into something that's exciting, that makes your heart beat faster, that makes you go, this is amazing, this is my life's purpose, this is so dope, I want to do this. There is going to be the factor of risk involved. There is going to be times where you fail multiple times even before you see a glimpse of hope and success, right? Especially for entrepreneurs, especially for, let's say, new coaches. A lot of times coaches jumping in, going from the place of, I have been giving advice to so many people all my life, I'm pretty sure I can do this, and then you realize that coaching is not about giving advice. Coaching is about asking questions, and you're like, I am such a failure, right? You have someone who is talking to you and they are like, yo, I didn't have that fun of an experience in this coaching session, and you're like, I am such a failure. So you instinctually pull it all towards yourself, right? Or if you are a freelancer, for example, you're trying to book clients and you have 100 rejections. All of them are like, no, this is not for me, this is not for me, this is not for me. And instinctually, that this is not for me turns into I suck. Because we are so attached to our work, we are so attached to our passion, we don't tend to separate ourselves from it. We don't tend to separate the product, the service from who we are as an individual. And so when someone says no, someone says you failed, it's not about the product or the service, it becomes all about us. And it adds on to all the things that we are saying to ourselves, right? You're a failure, you suck, you shouldn't be doing this. It could be made into a song, you could rap to it, and you could be like, yes, I'm a failure. So true. And this is always going to happen. There is always going to be a risk of you failing. And it is important to fail. I'm not even kidding you. If you don't fail, you will never realize where you are making mistakes, right? And fail doesn't mean everything is burning down around you. Fail can basically mean a no, a rejection, oh, you shouldn't be doing it this way, right? How open-minded are you to listen to that? How ready are you to fail? Right? And this comes back to getting back into that aspect of knowing your enemy. If I know I'm going to fail, if I step into a space and I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm going to win or if I'm going to fail, but I'm ready to be there, I'm ready to win and I'm ready to fail. If you go in from that mind space, imagine how fun things can get for you. Imagine how exciting things can get for you because you're ready to fail. You're like, yeah, I might fail and good for me, good for my business. It's better if I fail now than if I fail at the peak of my journey, right? When I am ready to fail, I alleviate that fear altogether because I am telling myself I am ready. I might win, I might fail, and I'm ready to handle both of those scenarios. I'm ready for whatever comes my way because I know once again how powerful my passion is. I know that this passion is not going to be burnt out by one small rejection, by one person who wasn't in the right space, who didn't require my service, who didn't want to take part in it. As simple as that. Someone just says no, it shouldn't put a dent on the passion that you're holding for yourself, and it shouldn't put a dent on your own self-esteem. It's not about you. It's time we detach ourselves from the service and the product that we are bringing forward. Once again, a lot of times when I say we should detach ourselves, people are like, does that mean we don't care? No, we do care. We care, and that's why we add more things into our passion. But we also protect ourselves and we protect our passion. When we have amazing boundaries for our passion and for ourselves, no matter what happens, if someone says no to my passion, I know that I'm extremely strong in who I am as an individual, and I'm not going to let that dent it. I'm going to add more things to my passion. I'm going to change. I'm going to evolve, right? If someone says no to me, I know my passion is enough to be like, yo, but you're so amazing at this. You're good. We're doing this. We will have failures, but we will move through it. So, fear of failure. Whew. Anyone has any questions before we move into the next one, which is the fear of success? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions?
I don't have a question. I just have a comment. And I think, as in my case, becoming an entrepreneur, and I think this will resonate to a lot of you, taking that first step forward to say, yes, I'm all in, I'm 100% in, I'm not going back. It's a moment that was filled with a lot of fear on failure. And then realizing and becoming aware that through my life, I had failed many times, but I stood up, I learned from it, and I became better. That alone gave me the strength to move forward. So it doesn't matter what journey we take, all of the journey is always going to be filled with the uncertainties of the unknown. So embracing it makes the big difference.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Woohoo! Awesome. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. All right. The next thing is fear of success. This is something that I feel like a lot of people have.
I have a question.
Yes, please go ahead, Prince.
Can you hear me good? Okay, so I have a question. So like anyone that has like the mindset of, low frequency and a lot of trauma, a lot of things that they're trying to overcome, what would you advise, like how to empower themselves from like their circumstances? Like they feel it, they want to change, they want to overcome that fear and anxiety, but if they don't have those positive outlets, those those ways of being to see like those positive reflections around them, like what would be great way for them to just take that step forward to start going in that path and that light to change from within to overcome those things?
That. Thank you so much for asking that. All right, we'll come back to noticing it, right? Notice what is present for you right now. Every time you try to take an action, notice what's present for you in that moment. What is coming up for you? What are the fears and the anxieties that are showing up for you, right? Acknowledge them. Acknowledge that this is a part of your life. This has been a part of your journey for a really long time, and it has existed in some shape or form within your body, right? Accept it. Something that's really important when it comes to accepting, a lot of people are like, yes, I accept it. But are you really accepting it, right? Or are you just saying, I accept it, but internally you're beating yourself up and you're beating your fears and anxieties up? Because once again, it's just a defense mechanism. It is just a way for us to protect ourselves, right? So when you accept it, are you honestly sitting and spending time with all these fears and anxieties? Are you like, all right, you know what? I don't want to fight you. I want to sit with you and I want to have a conversation. I want to understand where you're coming from. I want to understand what's present for you. Why are you here? What is the origin? Where did you come from? How can I make things better for you? When you have a conversation, when you learn to accept it, when you lean into it, and you're like, okay, I'm fine. Yeah, I hear you. I understand why you are here. I understand why you exist. When you lean in completely, then we start to move through it. You give gratitude. You're like, thank you so much because you existed for a reason. You obviously didn't show up just to make life miserable for me. You existed for a reason. Thank you so much for being here. I understand why you're here. However, in the need to move forward, in the need to get myself out there, in the need to make a change for myself, and I'm extremely grateful that you're here because you ensured that I survived and I reached a point where I can now make decisions like this. So I'm grateful for you, but I need to start moving forward. How do we move forward? You have already acknowledged and accepted these feelings and fears and emotions. The next thing is you start to reprogram your mind. How do you do that? You add small wins and let those small wins be the proof for yourself, right? What do I mean by that? our mind is basically like a computer. If you input things that's like, I am gonna succeed, your brain is going to create opportunities for you to succeed. If you tell your brain that I'm gonna fail, your brain is going to create opportunities for you to fail. Right? And this is not me, there is research that's been done around it. So what do you do next? You create small wins that acts as proof, and that strengthens the belief that you're putting into your brain. The command that you're putting into your brain is strengthened up, and you're like, I'm going to succeed, and here's how. I'm going to break my big goals into small mini goals, miniature goals, and every time I win, every time I move forward, every time I take even just the tiniest step forward, right? If this is the starting line and I'm here, that's a win for me. I'm gonna allow that win to exist, and I'm gonna celebrate that win. And to talk about that, Karina's doing a wonderful workshop next week on 31st. So be sure to tune in at that point of time. But basically, every time you win and you celebrate that win, you let your mind know that, yo, this is it. I told you we are gonna win, and I'm winning. So I'd like you to add this new belief that we can win if we put our mind to it. We can win if we put our heart to it. We can win if we research enough. We can win if we ask for support. Whatever it is, whatever line that you want to create, know that you are creating it, right? So far, it might have been the situations that created the stories for you. Right now, you are in charge of the stories that you're creating for yourself. So you have to ask yourself, what is the story that I'm telling myself? If I want to win, what is the story that I'm telling myself? This is basically what is called like a reframe. And Brenda, I invite you all to reach out to her. She does amazing work around this, right? So every time you're like, I want to reframe my mind, I want to reframe the stories that I've been telling myself and create small wins to act as proof for this story to be foundationally strong. Like, you're not just throwing this belief into the wind, you're creating a strong foundation for that story to exist. That's when things start changing. And it might not be immediate. Let me be real with you all. It might not be today I am telling myself that I'm gonna win, and the very next moment things are gonna change magically for me. Things are going to change, but it's going to be a long journey, because those fears have existed within you for a really long time, right? It's seeped into your blood, into your body, into every part of your soul. It's gonna take time for that fear to let go, for you to let go of that fear. So I hope that helps. Amazing. All right. With that, let's step into the fear of success. Now, this is what I was talking about. A lot of times, even when we succeed, we are afraid of that success. A lot of times we self-sabotage because we are like, what if I actually win? Like, I never won in my life before. What if I actually end up winning? What am I going to do? And that can push us down a rabbit hole of, am I actually worthy enough of winning? Or did I cheat my way through this win? Did I try to push other people's opportunities aside, and did I try to hog on to their opportunities and reach where I am? You start to doubt yourself and you self-sabotage, right? You worry about what's going to happen next. Like, if you have had this one dream all your life and you reach that dream, what's going to happen next? This is like the ending of the movie, not ending, like the middle part of the movie Tangled, where she's like, all my life I wanted to see the glowing lights, the floating lights, and now that I'm here, I don't know what's going to happen next. What am I going to do next? So that's what it happens. Like, you are like, what's going to happen next? What am I going to do next? And another fear that shows up is, what if this isn't everything that I wished for? What if this isn't what I wanted to do? What if this isn't what I wanted to achieve in my life? Right? What if this win that I have been so obsessed about my entire life doesn't end up being what it needs to be? How many of you all have had this experience? How many of you all have self-sabotaged yourself into preventing yourself from succeeding? Because I have. A lot of times I'm like, am I actually worthy enough? Am I actually ready enough to be doing the work that I'm doing? And for all you amazing human beings, I have dogs, and I don't actually have ghosts who randomly open doors. It's just my dogs seeking for attention. But I have often self-sabotaged my way into being like, what if I don't actually like, what if I succeed, and what if it is in everything that I wished for? What if I was obsessed about the wrong thing all my life? Right? It can be freaky. It can be very freaky. It can prevent you from going forward. So how do you actually go about demolishing this fear, because this fear is something positive. You're thinking about something that is a very positive outcome. How do you actually go about demolishing the fear around it? You start to build your own confidence, right? This is something that happens if you have imposter syndrome. We have all experienced it at one point of time in our life. We are like, am I actually worthy enough? Am I an imposter? What am I doing? Am I a fraud? Why am I winning? You start to build confidence, right? Trainees, I hear you, because I had that space. I was like, am I actually doing this, right? Or am I just an imposter who's learning random facts from the internet and throwing it at people, and people are like, hallelujah, this is what we were waiting for. Like, am I actually real? Am I actually doing this from a space of doing it, right? And one of the biggest ways to demolish this fear is by building up the confidence of saying that, yo, you know what? I actually reached here through my hard work. How do you build your confidence? Number one, you document your journey, right? You document the steps that you took to reach here. Every step that you take, every win that you achieve, document it, look at it, and be like, even after all of that struggle, I made that win happen, right? If you want to, you can even document how you ended up reaching that win. Allow yourself to celebrate things in all their entirety. Celebrate the good and the bad. When you do that, you are like, yo, I'm doing it. I am actually putting in the work to reach here, which is really amazing. Freaky, but amazing. I am doing the work, right? Build an imposter shield jar, which is basically like every time someone says something good about you, that you, I enjoyed this experience that we did together. I enjoyed the coaching session. I enjoyed your service. I enjoyed the amount of safe space you created for me to share my story. Every time someone says something good about you, write it down in a chit, put it in a paper, put it in a jar, right? Transparent jar. And then look at it, because that is the proof. That is the thing that tells you, yo, I am succeeding, and I'm succeeding because I put in the effort. I learned, I grew, I evolved. This is my hard work. This is my smart work. This is my work. This is my time, effort, and energy. Allow yourself to absorb all of that, accept all of it, and be in a space of gratitude for it. Whew, that was heavy. All right, any questions before we move forward into the next, the final three fears that often show up? Any questions? Anything, any comments? Karina, go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, well, I wanted to add an acronym. I have an acronym for FAIL that I really love, and I hope you guys love it too. It's first attempts in learning. So it's all learning, and none of it is actually failure. And reframing your relationship to failure and to success. Like, what does failure actually mean for me? And I was listening to somebody, I think it was Alexi actually, talking about failure, and she was saying that pretty much every successful person has a really good relationship to failure, and extremely successful people will even say, like, if I'm not failing, then I'm not trying hard enough. I'm not actually stepping out and pushing far enough or doing enough in my business, in my relationship. If I'm not experiencing any failure, then that means that I'm just staying comfortable. So I just wanted to share that. And Kiva tried to join us. I just wanted to let you know, but I tried to send her the link.
I sent you the link on
okay.
Yeah, I sent you the link in the private chat. I just saw it. Thank you. Thank you so much for managing things behind the screen. Let's go. All right. And thank you so much for sharing that amazing piece of knowledge. Thank you so much. I feel like that's so true. You know, like, if you're not failing, are you actually working hard enough? Are you actually doing the things that's pushing you out of your comfort zone, pushing you to make changes, pushing you to evolve? Or are you playing safe? Are you actually taking risks, or are you playing safe? Right? Love that. Awesome. Let's go. The next thing is fear of judgment. When we are trying something new, we worry that what are others gonna think about us, right? The fear of judgment can be actually a very powerful force that prevents people from taking risks or trying new things. And obviously, right, I feel like we are in a space where everyone is watching us, or we think that everyone is watching us, right? What does this mean? We have very transparent lives at this point of time because of internet, We share everything that we are doing. We share our wins, we share our successes, we share our failures, and we are constantly worried that are we good enough for people to look at us and follow us? Are we good enough for people to resonate with us? Are we authentic enough for people to follow us? We have a lot of things that we do out of a sense of the fear that's like, people are gonna judge us if we are not authentic enough, if we are not vulnerable enough, if we are not happy enough, if we are not sad enough. People are always going to judge us. And that fear is something that's very potent when it comes to trying out new things, because you're like, what if everyone is looking at me, making these decisions and judging me every single step? What if someone is like, imagine riding a wave in the ocean, and then there is a seat of people, judges sitting there holding out play cards saying 10, 9.5, 1. We feel like everyone's constantly judging us, when in reality, let me be honest with you all, people don't care. Right? People do care. I'm not saying that they don't care entirely. People do care, but not enough to witness you in every single part of your journey. Right? I had that fear. I was like, I am doing something completely crazy, completely different from what I started out with. Right? I am doing something where I was actually preparing for medical, like I said, and then I went into hotel management, and now I'm here being a coach. And I don't know if I should be doing this. I don't know if I was right enough to take this decision of being like, I am in charge of my journey, and I'm in charge of how things go, and blah, 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 blah. I was like, what if I am making the wrong decision? What are people gonna think? What are my classmates who saw me win really good marks, saw me be the person who was gonna make it big in the hotel industry, are watching me, judging me for being a coach, for doing something completely chaotic and crazy, right? I wasn't even like this. I was very afraid of what people were gonna think. So I know a lot of people don't believe this, but I am a really huge introvert. I don't usually have this level of energy, right? And this is not even my normal energy. I can go up 100 times more than what I'm currently showing, just that I have a very bad cold that I'm still recovering from. But I was always afraid of what people are going to think. Are people going to enjoy the things that I'm putting forward? Are people going to enjoy the work that I'm doing? I was constantly afraid of people judging me. However, coming back to what we talked about in the very beginning, focus on the known. I have Brenda, I have Trinice, I have Karina being here. I have the Stress Busters community watching this replay. I know that there are so many people here who are supporting me, who are celebrating me in every single step that I take, who are celebrating me in my authenticity, in my chaoticness, in my craziness. And they're like, we love that, we want to see more of it, and what can you do to support us, right? We have that space that we have created. I know that these people are always going to support me. That's all you need, right? The biggest way to move forward from the fear of judgment is to create an inner circle of people, a circle of people who are going to look at you and going to tell it to you straight. If they see you not succeeding, you doing something wrong, they're going to be like, yo, Madhurima, I'm going to be honest with you, that is a wrong approach to take for the journey that you're on. And because they are the closest people that I believe and trust, I'm going to listen to them. I'm going to have an open mind, right? As opposed to trolls on the internet who are going to tell me, Madhurima, you suck, blah, blah, blah. Like, you should just stop doing the work that you're doing. As opposed to that, if my inner circle tells me, Madhurima, I don't think this is the right approach, I'm going to listen. Because I believe you guys. I trust you guys enough. And I'm going to trust you when you say, Madhurima, you're doing a great job at what you're doing. Because that's going to be the encouragement I need, right? That fear of judgment, the biggest way to move through it is to have an inner circle of people who are going to hold space for you, who are going to celebrate you, who are going to let you know when you're doing something great and let you know when you're doing something wrong, and who are going to hold space for you through that process. Not just going to be like, you're doing something wrong, here you go, I dropped a bomb on you and I'm going to disappear for the next 10 years. No, they're going to tell you, yo, here's what you can do to move through this. Do you need support from us? What can we do to support you through this, right? The biggest way to overcome the fear of judgment is to have a space and have a group of people who are going to support you through it and who are going to hold a judgment-free space. So crucial, so important. All right, the next thing, fear of losing control. So crazy. This is very deeply connected with the fear of the unknown, because you're like, what if I lose control? What if I don't have a handle of things? What if I don't have a handle on the situation? Losing control on the scenario, on a particular situation, can be very scary, especially if you have had a space where you could take control of all the things happening around you. You were the judge, the jury, and the person standing in the courtroom, and all the people. You are the one who are holding that space for yourself, who are moving yourself through a space of being in absolute control of everything that was happening around you. What if you lose control? Right? Deeply connected with this situation of the unknown, because you don't know what's going to happen. So how can you know if you are losing control in that situation or not? The best way to overcome this thing is by understanding what are the things that you can control on a day-to-day basis, irrespective of what happens. I can control who I am as an individual. I can control my values. I can control my responses. Right? Instead of reacting to a situation, I can choose how I want to respond to a particular situation. I get to choose that. I get to create space for that. This is really amazing and really crucial. So every time you're afraid of losing control, think about what you can actually control. What can you actually do for yourself? What can you actually ensure that, irrespective of what happens externally, you have absolute control of the things happening internally? Right? Super crucial. The next and the final thing that I want to talk about is the fear of change. Once again, kind of similar to the unknown, but the unknown is all about you not knowing what is going to happen next, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to change when something in the unknown happens. The fear of change is, what if I change and I don't like who I am? What if I change and I don't like the way it affects the people around me? What if I change, or what if this situation changes me in a way that I wasn't prepared to be? So crucial. It can be very freaky, because you're like, I was amazing the way I was, and now you expect me to change? Now you expect me to rise up to the situation? I don't want to do that. I'm afraid of what people are gonna think of me. See, all of these things are very deeply related to each other. I like to think that fear, that ego trap that our ego creates, basically is like one seed that blooms into different direction and brings together all of these fears. Right? Once again, when the fear of change affects us, you think of what can you control. Are you ready to change? Whenever you change, it's not like it's going to happen smack out of the blue and you're going to be like, life sucks. Life shifted in a way which is very, I mean, it does happen. I'm not saying it doesn't, but very rarely. A lot of times we are aware of the changes that's happening around us. You get to ask yourself, am I ready to be in that space of change or not? Am I ready to change or not? If I change, how are things going to change around me and within me? How is the situation going to change things for me? So yeah, that is about it. We have a few more things to kind of cross off the list, but I would love to ask you guys if you have any questions for me before we move toward the final part of this webinar. Any questions? I think it's a no. All right. So we have spoken about a few things here and there about how you can move through different fears that we spoke about in this space, right? Building confidence, developing a growth mindset where you're focused on the growth, where you are focused on how you are evolving, how you are changing, how are things changing around you, and understanding that you are in charge of that change, understanding what is in your control, understanding that the success that you might receive is something that you deserve and you're worthy of, right? Practicing different tricks and strategies to manage your anxiety. Anxiety is, once again, worry and stress, right? So, for example, I'm worried about something that's happening externally and I start to breathe, like I start to have like shallow breaths. I'm like, that triggered my cough. But basically, when you're like, oh, hold on, I'm not able to breathe properly. What's happening? What am I worried about? The first thing that you can do is actually bring yourself in a space where you're like, okay, I will go into a room, close the door, and I'm going to settle down and I'm just going to practice breathing. I'm just going to focus on my breath. I'm going to take deep, powerful breaths and bring myself down. I'm going to ground myself, and then I'm going to think about whatever is worrying me. I'm gonna ensure that my internal is completely logged and safe to go before we talk about the worry that's gonna happen next, right? Because these emotions are gonna bring up a lot of things for you. It's gonna trigger a lot of things for you. So when you're like, I'm here, I'm safe, and I get to choose how things happen for me and around me and through me. When I decide that, then I can look at whatever worries I have, whatever emotions are showing up from a very stable mind space, right? It's like if you are on a stable ground and you're trying to jump from one point to another point, it's going to be much easier than if there's an earthquake happening and you're trying to jump from one point to the other point. You're not sure if you're going to reach the other end or not. You stabilizing yourself, grounding yourself, ensuring that you are completely in a space you're logged in and you're safe and secure is going to create that stable land for you to jump, right? It's going to create that stable land where you can strategize about how you want to take that jump and actually take that jump. So practicing strategies for managing your anxiety can be really dope. You can also practice mindfulness. This is going to help you once again, the noticing it, acknowledging it, accepting it, leaning into it and moving through it. When you practice mindfulness, you are aware of what's happening around you and you get to notice all of these things and go through that process. You can also set down goals, break down your goals into many things that act as encouragement, that act as proof, and allows you to be like, I am doing good work. It's slow, but the progress is happening, right? And yeah, you can always, one of the biggest things is you can always reach out for support. You're not doing this alone. I think a lot of people have that fear of, oh my gosh, I'm doing this alone. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I don't know if I'm doing the wrong thing. What am I doing? What's happening? Instead of doing all of these, you're like, fine, one step at a time, one step at a time, one step at a time.
I think too, like when it comes to this stuff, to just allow yourself to have grace to know that you're not gonna always be on that wheel of, being straight for the week. If you have that mishap that falls off, it's okay to like, okay, I'm getting back on this wheel and doing it again. Because I tend to do that. Like, I tend to push myself to stay consistent because I know consistency is not something, I'm good at doing. So as soon as I fall off, I'm always like, oh, this is, getting in the way of my progress, where I'm trying to go, where I'm trying to be. So, just having that thought, like, what's that one saying? This is a marathon or something like that. What's that? It's a journey, not a destination. That saying.
Yeah.
It's a journey, not a destination. Like, you have to remind yourself that, you're gonna be going through this cycle all the way to your last breath. So you gotta just allow yourself to have grace, to know that you've messed up, and get back on that wheel again. And I have to constantly remind myself of that it's okay. I may not, always be disciplined, because when motivation runs out, but you gotta have that discipline. And sometimes I don't want to do either. So it's okay. I'm learning this as the journey goes.
Love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, Trinis. Yeah, and I completely agree. I feel like just knowing, once again, it's about that fear of failure, right? Like, if you're prepared to fail, if you know that you might end up failing a few times in that journey, you're like, I prepared for this. It's okay if I'm failing. It's okay that things are not going the way that I wanted to go. I get to experience this failure in all its entirety, be with it, sit through all the emotions that come up for me, and then choose how I am going to take the next step. Right? If I am failing, I'm going to fail gracefully. Instead of blaming myself, blaming situations, blaming other people, I'm going to be like, okay, let's be with it. And then move through it. Love that. Karina, any final thoughts before we close this workshop?
No, I love it. You touched on a lot of good things, a lot of like the main fears that come up for so many of us. And so it's just so good to normalize that these are just natural responses, and they really are there. I mean, we actually need the feeling of fear and the emotion, or I don't know if fear is an emotion or a feeling. I think it's a combination, but we need it. You know, that's the thing that's going to keep us safe from like getting hit by a car or running out of a burning building. That's the thing that is going to keep us safe. It's really just like you said, Trinice, acknowledging yourself and your fears with so much grace and so much compassion and understanding, and then choosing how you want to move forward from there. So I think you touched on so many great things.
Yay! I am so thankful for that. I'm so thankful for all you beautiful human beings who decided to be here. Just know that if you want to, you can share whatever thoughts you have. If you have any questions, please drop them down in the comments below. And let us know if you're watching the live or the replay. Let us know your biggest takeaways, and whatever you're talking about. If you have any questions, you can drop them below, and we will try our best. I will try my level best to reach out to you and respond to all of those things as soon as possible. I am also gonna invite you to join the Stress Busters community, because that's where this entire journey started from. And I think you guys can see the banner.
They're missing out. They're missing out. They better get with it or get left behind. But bye. It's only cracking up in the Stress Buster community.
Yes.
Hey, I love that. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, yeah. It's a lifelong dream. We are progressing slowly but surely, and I'm excited for all of you amazing human beings to be there. Click the link that's scrolling in the banner, and you can join us. And I'm super excited to host this amazing space for you. I'm super excited that you guys are on a mission with me to make stress management fun. It doesn't need to be something that takes away from your personal or professional life. It can be something that can add on to it in a really positive way. So we are here for it. We are here to grow. We are here to evolve. We are here to inspire the generations before we are in and the ones after us. Let's go. All right, with one final thought, thank you so much once again for being here. Join us on the 31st, where Karina will be taking us through the Celebrating Wins workshop, and we are doing an amazing mastermind event on the 30th of this month, where we will have Brenda, who was a part of the session ahead of time, earlier. She will be hosting a wonderful space through NLP. We will also have my dog screaming in the background, and we will have another person called as Charles, who is once again a part of our community, who's also going to take us through NLP, who's going to take us through practicing different strategies that can help us prepare for taking action. So the best way to join us and to join the mastermind event, it's free for all of you amazing human beings to join. Even the Stress Busters community is free. Join the community, reach out to me, and we can book you in for the mastermind event. Yes, let's go. Thank you so much for being here. Woo-hoo, let's do this. Woo-hoo.